welcome to the Brazil Expat Journal, the BJ you can trust. We're back. We're on a little early today because it was either come on early or don't come on at all. Because, man, I'm sick as a dog. Well, a little better than before. I'm kind of trusting that this music is playing right because it cuts off for me. But when I listen to the playback, it sounds okay. But yeah, guys, welcome to the show. Pete's here. He's on a little bit of a delay. Hopefully, it won't be as much when we are actually on live. Faz muito barulho. Captura tudo. So, the sorry about that, guys. There's a little bit of something happening here at the beginning of the show. How is everybody doing? So, like I said, it was either not come on at all or come on early because I got a bit of a cold that I'm recovering from. I'm drinking some tea right now. The weather's been all over the place in Sao Paulo for like the last, I don't know, Pete. It's been like for the last
motherfucker, man. It's been a
yeah.
motherfucker.
Yeah, it's been like this for about a month and a half or two where it's mostly cold, but then it'll have a really hot day and then back to
I
cold.
got no clothes to wear most days, man.
It's some weird weather, so it really screws you up. So I think I think I've got the trifecta because I don't get cold very often, or I don't get cold. I don't get sick very often, but I got the trifecta because, guys, and this is where uh, it gets tough for me to do this show because I had quit these hours at work because it was too much. I was dealing with these little kids, and these little kids are like really insane. I love working with them, but it takes a lot of energy. So I told my boss, I'm like, man, I can't keep up. Like, keep me with the classes I'm already doing which is with the older kids. We're doing like project-based learning, science experiments, blah, blah, blah. With the little kids, a lot of paperwork, and you got to write the homework, correct the homework, create a quiz, correct the quiz. It's all got to be standardized. It's a lot for my head. So I told her back in February, find another teacher. She did. She found another teacher. I think I left like in May, and I felt much better. I was like, whew, I can breathe. And that's when the show came back, actually. But now the other teacher left too, unfortunately. So I got called back last week. Man, last week was hell week. Remember that Monday where we had the show last Monday, which, by the way, thanks everybody for listening. Great show, great guest talking about indigenous stuff here in Brazil. Go back and check that out. Really good episode. Um, we were all really tired. I was really tired because my first class was like at 8:30 a.m. and I finished, like I went pretty much straight until 9:30, 10. And so that was one, the tiredness, the crazy weather. Kids are fucking germ factories, but then we had a little bit of this. I had a get together. I'm going to show you a little video. Let's see if it works. Let's see if we can do it. Let's see if I'm technically capable of doing this. I'm going to share the screen here. I'm going to show you a little video that I posted on my YouTube. Right. From Pinheiro Station to Morumbi. And I think, Pete, this is what did it in the end. Because when you get that train around 4:30, 5 o'clock, and it's packed and it's raining, and you're basically inside of a petri dish of every possible disease.
I so don't miss that shit at all, man. Oh my god. I remember those train rides. And yeah, they're hell. They're hell. They're germ factories.
It is. So, guys,
like you said.
I'm going to save our voices a little bit. And at the beginning here, I'll show you this video. But tonight, we're going to talk about how to deal with Brazilians, how to communicate with Brazilians. So please chime in. I know it's a little bit early, so maybe we're not going to get as many listeners who are used to having us on at 10 o'clock. But tonight, it just had to be that way. I was like, man, I want to get to bed early. I got a class tomorrow at 7 a.m. So here we go. Watch this. We'll save our voices a little bit. Here, I'm going to mute us, Pete. So I'm at the Pinheiros metro station. It's one of the biggest metro stations. People died, I believe, building this station. So deep because you gotta go river. I believe. You can see the brutal architecture that's so much slabs going up floor.
I'm here. I'm here.
That's how you do it. So follow. My final destination. Around.
Somebody seems a little hesitant there. Let's spit
Not a
it
big
out.
deal.
Okay, so I don't know who is in this conversation anymore, but I'm here, and you have invited this girl to share her experience. So let her just tell her story. Yeah, for fuck's sake.
Pete,
Yeah, for fuck's sake.
and we're back. Are we back? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, cool. Well, StreamYard just bugged out. So that was a little bit of that. I don't know if anybody saw any of that. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But I think that was the culmination of it all, is that final trip. Yeah, I don't have my little avatar anymore. Um, man, StreamYard is always something with StreamYard, yeah?
Yeah, it's a
When it comes
bitch,
to,
man. It's a bitch.
yeah, it's been a little tough here. Oh, there you go. There you go. There I am. There's my little floating head. And where's Pete's floating head? There we are. So we're together again. If you're joining us, we're going to be talking about how to deal with Brazilians and the cultural differences that there are among the different
Mm.
people across the world. But guys, culmination of all that will get you sick. So Thursday, I mean Friday, I was already feeling it. Saturday, I was just in bed all day, and then Sunday, I did manage to play a little
Yeah,
wall
you
ball
sound
tennis.
shitty, man.
But
You sound like really
yeah,
sick.
yeah, and I'll be better though. I'll be better. Poor people can't afford to be get sick, right? We gotta keep
Yeah,
it going.
that
Gotta
this
keep
is
it going.
true. This is
So,
true.
guys, yes, we can't have a sick day. Um, but the year's almost over. You know, we're looking forward to the end of the year festivities here and just chilling the fuck out. So let's get right into it, guys. We're gonna be looking at this idea of how to talk with Brazilians from a place of understanding that we can't change a culture.
All
Different
right.
places, people are gonna act differently. So we're gonna put on our Star Trek hats today
All
and
right.
respect.
I think the first thing we have to talk about is time.
Yeah, no, we're definitely going to talk about time. But before we get into that, Pete, I want to get into a topic that a lot of people don't know about, and I didn't know about until about what 3 or 4 years ago, which I think really helped me understand where everything's coming from as far as cross communications, and it's this idea of low context versus high context culture
Hmm.
societies. And what is that exactly? It is, okay, nonverbal cues like body language, tone, the meaning that's embedded in things. And it was started
Well,
by, let me
simple
see.
things like saying good morning, man. Like if you don't say
Yeah,
good morning to a person, man, they will fucking hate you. They will hate you.
yes. This is a concept started by an anthropologist in the 1970s called Edward T. Hall. But he's pretty much right on. Look at this, watch this, and tell me what you think. We'll comment while we watch this lady's video. Hopefully, StreamYard won't bug completely again. This is the last video I'm showing tonight. So hopefully, we'll get through this video without too much of an issue. We shall see now. So she's giving a little lecture here. Watch this, and we can comment as we go along here.
In
So
a
here,
low context society, while we are communicating, we assume that we have a low level of shared context. What does that mean? It means that we don't have the same reference points or the same body of knowledge or relationships, that we have a low level of shared context. So in a low context society, we believe that good, effective, professional communication is a communication that's very explicit, that's very simple and very clear. In a low context society, we're trained that if I want you to understand blue, then I have to say blue, literally.
Mm-hmm.
We're trained in a low context culture that if I give a presentation, I should tell you, and then I should tell you what I've told you. Why do I tell you the same thing three times? Because we're focused overall on making sure that the message was passed.
man, and Pete, this first thing that she said
Yeah,
is so I
but
can relate to it so much.
but as a
Wait, let
foreigner
me finish. Let me
living in
finish.
in a foreign society, you are living in a low context
Yes.
society. Like it's so difficult to do like the most basic things. Like you have it a bit easier because you're born Brazilian, so you know the language, you know how to speak to people. Um, for someone like myself, like it's incredibly difficult.
No, but that's what we're gonna get into. And trust me, man, being born Brazilian has nothing to do with it because I wasn't raised here. So I was raised in a low context culture, which is the United States, and Brazil is a high context culture. So you really got to get this idea down. High context culture, their nonverbal cues, their focus is more on relationships. They it's a
Yeah,
shared experience.
yeah.
Yeah,
I,
and the
I get a lot of that from my relationships with my landlady, man. She's so complicated, so difficult to deal with, but you know, she's like one of the most important people in my life. So I have to pick up on these cues.
Exactly. So that's what we're going to be looking at. It's beyond language because you can speak perfect Portuguese and still communicate badly here, which
Exactly.
I'm a living example of that. But what I was going to say is like what she said about, that's the basic formula for writing an essay, like tonight we're going to talk about this and then we talk about it. And then at the end, we say what we talked about. It's very clear. And when I teach public speaking, I teach this year. I'm teaching some English lit at the high school, and they got to write a lot of essays. And it's always surprising to me how this is really difficult for the kids to get, like just this basic essay formula. Introductory sentence where you explain what you're going to say. You got your body, oh, not sentences, but paragraph. You got your body paragraphs where you explain it. Then you got your conclusion paragraph, where you said what you just said. Man,
Oh my
kids,
God.
kids
Fucking
freak out.
Brazilians do not get what writing is like in English. Like it's a completely different way. Like
It is.
they use commas where we
No,
normally
PP,
use
you're looking at
periods.
it too technically, man. Get out of the technical. You're looking at it too technically. We're not talking
All
about
right.
commas. We're talking about just how are we communicating an idea. In English, it's very linear compared to Brazil. Okay, I wish I could find this website I found once where the guy he is another he was a linguist and he kind of drew out different cultures like how do you get to the point, like some cultures is like a straight line, some cultures a little bit of a zigzag, some cultures
Right.
is like a spiral, like when you went into like Hebrew
But
it's
it
like
is a romance language though.
it is so that's so
And that's the thing that really like makes it incoherent in English. Like the whole romance language thing just doesn't translate directly to English.
Yeah, well, I disagree. I don't think that the language is the problem. It's how people communicate within the language that's a problem. Because actually, Portuguese and English are not that far apart if you like just break it down, linguistically. What's different is when you look at, for example, she's going to talk about different cultures, especially French culture versus the Germans. They're going to have a meeting. Two totally different cultures as far as how to get to the point. Language has something to do with it for sure, but it's the cultural context that's really going to make a difference. So you could say, uh, I want to eat, eu quero comer. It's like the same sentence, like almost like direct English to Portuguese. But in English, if you say I want to eat, you're gonna get one response, and if you say I want to eat, eu quero comer in Portuguese, just randomly, you're gonna get a different response because people are gonna understand that information differently. So that's what we're going beyond the grammar here. It's not about how to use commas, pronunciation. It's about what you need to do in order for a Brazilian to understand that hey, this is what I want done. Okay, and understanding that some things you can't change. Okay, so that's where she's going at. That's why I'm telling you, like when you're writing an essay in English, there's a linear flow to it. When you're writing an essay in Portuguese, it's not that it's worse or it's bad. They just look at an idea differently. I learned this here because I work at a high school, and my boss had to teach me this. Like how to write an essay in Portuguese. And in Portuguese, what do? The first paragraph, they're going to explain the topic and kind of dissect it already in the introduction,
Mhm.
so
Yeah,
boom.
I've seen this. I've seen this. I worked with an economist who actually advised the Sao Paulo government on how to handle the pandemic.
Mhm.
And he was right. He was right. His essay was brilliant.
Yes. And then, so then in within that, then they're gonna like the next paragraph is gonna give you like the pro. The next one is gonna give you the counter argument, and then the conclusion is not really a conclusion. It's just kind of gonna give you maybe a little bit more towards one side if that's what the person believes in, but it's always very much open. It's like the uh, discourse. It's much more about discourse. It's almost some people say
Yeah.
when you meet like somebody that's from France or from Portugal, it's almost like they don't want an answer. It's like the fun
Yeah,
is in
it's
the debate.
very ambiguous.
You
Very
know,
Yeah.
so that's what we're getting at here. So in low context culture, we got to make sure that message is sent. It's right there. It's passed simply and clearly. That's how you write an essay. When you're trying to read something in Portuguese, even if it's written in perfect English, and I've had this happen to me a couple times with my friend Anna. She's lived in England for a while. She speaks perfect English, or at least very high level English. And sometimes she would send me some articles to like revise for her. And man, my brain would get twisted because the English would be perfect, the grammar's perfect, everything's there. It's English. But I couldn't get into it. Like I couldn't understand what's your point. What do you and I would get frustrated by the end of the first paragraph. And then what did I understand? She's writing in English, but with a Brazilian mindset, as far as how to get to the point. Whereas, and I would do the same in reverse. Sometimes I'll write something in Portuguese, but I'll use the English formula to say what I got to say, and I don't have a good reaction. Because even though the Portuguese is perfect, everything's right, like they're not getting. Why is he being so rude and so aggressive to me? So
Yeah, yeah. That's the thing. You're taken as aggressive, and it's not meant
yeah,
to be aggressive. It's just like, no, like
exactly.
this is just how we do this.
Exactly. So that's what we're trying to do tonight, guys, is figure out how do we get that middle ground where everybody's kind of happy because you're not going to change anybody. So you can't fight against the tide. So let's continue on the video here.
In a high context society, while we're communicating, we assume or consider that we have that we have the same reference points, body of knowledge, information, and because we assume all of this shared context, in a high context society, we believe good, effective communication is a communication that's more implicit or layered or nuanced. I had a German individual who said to me, Aaron, in Germany, at the end of a meeting, we almost always do a recap. That's low context, right? Clarification, clarification, clarification. He said, now that I've been working frequently with the French, I often find that at the end of a meeting, I'll get ready to do a recap, and my French colleagues will just stand up. And someone will say, et voila, there it is. And also to see that it just seems that people know what's been decided, that they know what's supposed to happen next, without going through all of those levels of clarification that I'm so used to. I was doing some work a while ago in Istanbul, and I had a Turkish client who was telling me about all of these issues that he was having with his new American boss. And I said, when your boss was here, did you tell him what you're telling me now? And he said, well, Aaron, I made it known so that he could see it if he wanted to see it. And I thought to myself,
man, that's such a Brazilian thing to say. I've had Brazilians say that to me. That he should know. It's almost like you're talking to women. It's like you should know.
Yeah,
he probably
yeah.
didn't see it. right?
I mean,
I'll give you a third example from China. I was giving
Here's a Chinese one, Pete. Look.
yeah.
a presentation at a conference in China last year, and all the people in the room worked for this session. That went very well, and then he left. Afterwards, when I was working with the group, we were talking about this, and I had the Chinese human resource director raise his hand. And he said, you know, Erin, this concept is very interesting to me because the whole up all levels of meaning that he might be trying.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just a little primer on this whole idea of low and high context culture, guys. Because once you kind
Yeah.
of get, for me at least, that was like a revelation. It really helped me get.
Well, I mean, I still have this in Brazil, and I have to admit, I'm a dick. I'm a dick.
Mhm.
Part of the
Okay.
reason why, like, I'm not more employable than I am is because, like, I apply for jobs and I get responses in Portuguese. I'm like, can you put that in English? And they're like, no, we can't. We're a Portuguese company. So we can't put that in English for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but then that's a dick move. So I agree with you because you're in Brazil, man. So you gotta
Yeah,
you gotta
you gotta
Google
play by the
Translate.
rules.
You gotta Google Translate. But this is, you know, beyond just that. It's just this is how people see the world, which is really interesting for me because it's like, we got so many cultures around the world, and we sometimes, because not everybody gets to travel around the world all the time, so you kind of stuck in your little bubble. Few of us have been fortunate to go to 2, maybe 3 countries in our lifetime, but most people on planet Earth are going to live and die in the same country. Maybe take a trip somewhere once or twice, but that's it. So
Yeah, and if they take that trip, it's probably gonna be like, okay, if you're American, you're probably gonna go to Canada. If you're Canadian, you're probably gonna go to
yeah, or you'll
America.
go to a resort, or you'll just go to a resort. But like you said, yeah, you'll be like within your hemisphere, so it's not going to change too much. And so you can unwittingly just get stuck in like the bubble of like thinking, oh, everybody just thinks this way. This is just how you do things. And it's like, not exactly, if you go to a different place, people are going to see things differently. Like,
Yeah,
that's just the way it is, So how do I make it work? How do I communicate? So we got here 5 things, that are very much part of Brazilian culture that drive a lot of people insane. This was like the longest intro to a topic we've ever done. But now we're getting right into it. So welcome those that are coming in, which is how it is that you can get along in Brazil, even with the fact that, hey, it's almost the opposite mentality. So the first thing we're going to talk about is time and punctuality. So that's something that foreigners
mm.
really get upset about when they come here, this idea of flexible time. Now, look, high context link.
It depends on the person, man. It depends on the person.
It does, but we'll get into that. Let me just introduce it here. So, if you're thinking about this from a high context culture, time is seen through the lens of relationships. There's no strict schedules. People value being present with others more than sticking to the clock. Whereas in low context cultures like the US, Germany, lateness is read as disrespect or disorganization. So in Brazil, being late doesn't mean they don't care. Okay, it might mean that you're just kind of in that moment. Does this excuse it all the time? No, but it helps you kind of get it. Like, okay, this is why
Yeah,
people.
It really depends on the person, man.
It does, but it doesn't, because I see like Brazilians don't get upset over it. Like they get it and they do it and they're
No,
just like,
the thing is, all Brazilians understand it, but the
yeah,
behavior depends on the person.
yeah. This is a good point if you want to think like I think one tip that I can give you is get a Brazilian buddy who's traveled abroad. Like everybody should befriend a Brazilian who's born and raised here but's traveled abroad, because they usually get it. They've been out of the bubble. They see that this is not how the rest of the world operates. Doesn't mean that, again, I never want to come off as they were saying, oh, one side's right, one side's wrong. And I'm the type of person that doesn't think that everything in the culture is cool. There's people that are like, oh no, you can't criticize
No,
other people's culture.
but
I don't agree with that. But at the same time, there's things that just are. And one is time. Time has a different.
but dude, I dated a Brazilian girl who
Yeah,
was like absolutely the most punctual person I've ever met. She was more punctual than any Westerner. Like, if I was 10 minutes late, she was angry. And
yeah,
I was 10 minutes late because I assumed as a Brazilian she would be okay with it. But she was not, man. Like, she's like, you better be on fucking time, man. So,
I've
there
met
are
people
the
like this before. It's like it exists. It's not that every Brazilian is like that. Especially São Paulo is a little bit more on time because São Paulo is such a fast city.
yeah,
So
we are
yeah,
very
but she's an
punctual people.
outlier. Come on. I mean, think of all the time you spend here. I think I can count on one hand the amount of people that are like really actually punctual. Uh,
But but I will tell you, my landlady, Gianni is her name. She is a fucking nightmare. Like, because she handles my money, right? She gets my money
ooh,
from bank accounts from other cities, and it's like, okay, can you bring my money today? And she's like, yeah, I'll be there at 11 o'clock today, and it changes like throughout the day. It's like, Gianni, like, it's 11 o'clock. You're not here. She's like, no, I'll be there at 9. And then it's like, I'll be there at 2 tomorrow. Like, oh my God, she's like so unreliable. She's like the most unreliable person. So this is the contrast, right? You have this
mhm.
like the girl I was telling you about before. She's like, yeah, fucking you. If you meet me at 2 o'clock, I expect you to be there at 2 o'clock. But
Yes.
Gianni is like, no, like, maybe I'll be there at 9 today. Maybe I'll be there at 3 2 days from now. It's
Yeah,
like,
but again, when you see that, which in that your landlady is more like the standard, the status quo here than that girl you dated. That was a bit of an outlier. But going into her mind, like if I had to like step into her shoes, what do I believe she's thinking? She's like, all right, I got his money. He's gonna get it. Like maybe it'll be today, maybe it'll be tomorrow, but he's not gonna starve in 2 days. I mean, I imagine he's got at least a
yeah,
hundred bucks.
well, the
And
the
like,
the thing, the thing with
there's
Gianni is that she's managing like a dozen different properties.
yeah,
So she really like doesn't, she just tells people bullshit most of the time because she's got like all these different properties to manage, and she doesn't really have like the answers to their problems. Like,
exactly.
we all have problems. Like, fuck, I have this electrical outlet that doesn't work. I have a hole in my ceiling, and I'm like, Johnny, like, fucking come on, like send some help here. But
Yeah,
she's
but
got
what? But
so many people doing the same thing that she just like she's like,
see
I'll
what?
get to you when I have time.
But what's the opposite side of that? That's what I'm saying. You got to look at the other side of that. From her perspective, she's trying to manage all this shit that she can't really manage. She's dealing with all the Brazilian bureaucracy, all the ups and downs. So she herself is having to like be extremely flexible because you don't know when everything else is supposed to happen. Who somebody that probably told her I'll be there at 10 but shows up at 2. So it's like a chain reaction that eventually
Yeah,
gets to you. And then what I realized, like how I started, because I used to get really frustrated with this, and I was like, if you can't beat it, join it. So what's the joining? Is like you realize when shit hits the fan for you, and maybe I can't, I'm gonna be a week late with my rent, or I'm gonna be 3 days late with my rent, or
yes,
maybe this.
yes.
And they're like, yeah, okay, pay me when you can. Like it's this whole communal idea of like shit's fucked, you know, in general. It'll get done when it gets done. We'll figure it out. Relax. Like that's the attitude. So if you want to
Yeah,
try
you know what I've been dealing with this girl for the last week.
yeah,
Um, a Pix account, a Pix
yes,
account. The guy
yes,
who owns the building. I got paid for this job in Chile, and I just want to send him the money. Right? I just want to send him
yes,
the money. And it has to be done through Pix because they can't
yeah.
pay to a Brazilian bank account. And I've been like, oh my God, for a week, I've been begging her, like, like just send me his Pix account. Send me his Pix account. That's it. That's
Dude,
all we need.
but that's what I'm saying. What's my advice to you, to foreigners? Drop the topic, drop the subject, because
Yeah.
if it's that important, if trust me, if it's really that important, you're gonna have that Pix account. That's what I started to realize here. They Brazilians are gonna categorize what is most like what's the thing I really got to do today. Because a lot of times, especially back, I was showing the video of Morumbi back when we used to be out in the street teaching. Man, some days you have the chance to do one thing, just one thing that's outside of like whatever your schedule is, whether it's going to the bank, whether it's going to the supermarket, whether it's getting something at the cartório, but you really only have the option to do. So it's like you really prioritize because
Yeah.
the country's all disorganized, the city's big. So when I ask people for shit and they don't give it to me right away, I'm like, okay, I guess it's not that important to them. And reverse, sometimes I've started to do that. It's kind of a shitty thing to do, but sometimes people will say hey to me on WhatsApp or something, and I'll scroll past their name a couple times. I'm like, yeah, I mean, they'll live. Like I don't gotta get back to them like right now. So it's a shitty thing to do, but at the same time, I get it. It's a survival thing. I can't be there 100% for everybody all the time. So that's
Yeah.
what it is. So for me, it was a process of not getting frustrated with this, just realizing everything in Brazil, it's like a chain reaction that starts from the top down, where everything's kind of insane. People are trying to just figure it out as they go along. Like, I keep bringing up that expression from that show, nas coxas, like everything's kind of done on their lap. And you're on the receiving end of that. You're like down this long line of people that said they would be there at 10, but showed up on, Thursday at 5. So it's like, I started to get as upset about it and just kind of control what I can. Okay, she didn't
Mhm.
bring me my money yet. All right, she knows she didn't do it. And if I don't have the money to pay the rent on Wednesday, well, it's because you didn't give me my money. Oh, I forgot. Here's your money. Oh, cool. Here's your rent. And then everybody has pizza, as they say in Brazil.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything ends
Yeah,
in pizza.
eco society. That's a great term they have in Brazil.
Yeah, and here's it's about the social. Like you gotta like I'll give you something that happened. I don't like to talk too much politics here on the podcast, but something that happened last week, which I thought was really impressive, was how Trump and Lula became like besties. They're like, they just really got into each other. And I'm like, why do you think it is? Could it be that Trump is a yapper and Lula is a yapper and they're both in their 80s and they both, and like, he met his soul brother from another mother, and that whole the tariff deals that, Trump's been putting all these hard tariffs on. They talked about it. They're like, no, we're going to get it done. Like what the media was trying to play that off as something very like, oh, it's horrible. Trump is like, he's going to say this, man, or Lula was going to say, they like became besties in like 5 seconds. I think they ran into each other in the hallway at the UN thing that they had. And then they're like, yeah, let's set up a call. They were on the call. And now Trump's thinking about coming to Brazil. Lula's thinking about going to the US. I'm like, but why? Social. That's the social credit here is everything. Being able to just like, let's just chill, like, let's just chill. We'll get it done. And it can become a clash of cultures or not. Because if you think about it, Trump and Lula are perfect examples of this, of low and high context culture. Because Trump is very much, look, I said I'm going to bomb the place, it's bombed. I said I'm going to close the border, it's closed. Like, he does what he says, whether you agree with it or not. And Lula, on the other hand, is all about, yeah, we're going to have some picanha one of these days, We're going to have some more party time. The economy is going to be all right. If you can't drink this beer, drink that one. It's a whole nother. It's contextualized completely different how they come across. Speaking of which, the methanol thing is getting kind of serious here in Sao Paulo, man. A few people
It
died.
is, man. I swear to God, I think that's why I'm going blind. I swear to God, like, no, I'm losing my eyesight, and I've read about this alcohol problem in Sao Paulo, and yeah, I think I should not be going as blind as I am.
Dude, get that checked out. Go to USP. They got free eye exams and shit. Because I was feeling that too. And I thought I had pink eye because it was from the kids. I was like, last Monday, I was rubbing my eye a lot. And then it kind of went away. I don't know. At the same time, I'm like, I think I've seen enough.
That's why I told you about that movie, him. I swear to God, I thought that guy was white, but I was like so blind, man. I could not see a fucking thing.
On next week's Brazil Expat Journal, Pete fucks a tranny. Oh. Hey, I couldn't see, man. It was dark. All right. Anyway, I shouldn't use that word, right? But I love everybody out there. I really do. I'm old. I use old people.
Trannies are okay. Trannies are okay.
Oh, no, that's out of fashion. You can't say tranny anymore.
Yeah,
even
really.
RuPaul got dragged for saying that. And she at first she was trying to fight it. She's like, bitch, I'm from like the 1980s. That's just how we said it. And they're like, yeah, it's a different world. And then she actually had to apologize. You can't say tranny. But anyway, I love all my peoples as long as they're respectful. So yes, guys, let's move on to the next topic. But this thing with lateness, again, if you try to fight it, if you try to get just pissed off all the time, you're just gonna get frustrated. So one, understand where it's coming from, and if if it's something that you really need, that's where it can become a little tricky. Because if it's something that you really need, then sometimes you do have to send a couple messages. And if you see, look, if this is the way this person is, I just cut that person off for anything important. I'm like, I'm not doing important things with you again because you made me wait till the last minute for a document I really needed. Now I'm late with this. That's shitty. So yes, I do judge. This isn't the topic tonight doesn't mean let's give a what do you call it? Just
a pass.
Yeah. A pass, that's the thing. I was thinking mea culpa, but that's when I make a mistake. Yeah, we're not giving everybody a pass. But we also, you're in Brazil. You gotta know how to deal with just how Brazilians do shit, or you're gonna get really frustrated. So
Yeah.
I'll judge for that for sure. If I really need something, because I'm the opposite. If I see you really need it, man, I'm gonna help you out. In two, sometimes it works to your advantage with like I'm not much into going into parties and shit. So if the party says 8 p.m., I get there like 8:15 and I'll be the
Mm.
only person there. And then by the time people start arriving around 9:30, I'm out the door. I'm like, thank you. I saw who I wanted to see, which is, the host of the party or whatever. And then I am out the door. So sometimes it can work in your favor. And I'm not going to say that I've used it once or twice when maybe I should have gotten up a little earlier to go to work, but then I was late and said, like, hey, traffic. But, I've done it. Everybody's lied a little bit about, being late to work. But a lot of times it's for real, though. It's like you never know what the schedule is and that and the third. But, I've used it as an excuse once or twice, traffic, just how things are just all over the place. But that's how Brazilians are with time, guys. Don't get too stressed out about it, or you'll go crazy. Physical warmth and personal space, Pete. That would be number two. High context link. Meaning is conveyed through physical closeness, touch, and body language. 100% down here in
Yeah,
Brazil.
but how like, oh my god, like when the body language is that close, like how, I don't know, like how close is the person to you? Because like
Wait a second.
I
Wait a
remember
second.
the first time the no, not even the first time, like the first two times this happened to me. Um where like, you got these arms wrapped around you and these lips on your fucking eyes, and I don't even know this person.
Well, Pete, look at this. In a low context culture, too much touch can feel invasive. The message
Yes.
is meant to stay in words. Uh, but a hug in Brazil says more than 1,000 emails. Okay. So I'm totally with you, man. I'm cracking up over here. You're like the quintessential gringo for this podcast because it's like that's the reaction you're going to have. Like your reactions are visceral, they're true. I had them like, okay, I might have been a little bit less shocked because I did grow up in a Brazilian household and I was used to a lot of hugging.
Right.
But even though I wasn't a hugger, like I remember having that conversation with my theater teacher about how my parents never hugged me. Uh, and it's weird because it just happened that my parents were not very touchy feely, which made me not a very touchy feely person. But I would see it among their Brazilian friends, and I'd be like, okay, I guess that's just what Brazilians do. But then actually being here, that's the thing
Yeah.
that kind of shocked me, Pete, is that I saw it like at family parties. So I figured, oh, it's just something that friends
Yeah.
and family do. And
I,
then
I
my
had
first,
I had this experience at
yeah,
a friend's job, Sonda. Sonda, it's an electronics company,
I
and
saw,
he's like, "Oh, I would like to introduce you to my boss." And I was like, "Okay, I would like to meet your boss." Very polite. And she went in for the kiss, and I actually moved my head because I didn't want her to hit my lips, and she
yeah,
got me in the eye, man. She got me in the eye.
you got it.
She-
You got an
oh
eye kiss. It's
yeah.
weird when your boss kisses you, or like, for me, it was like the secretary at this first school that I worked at, at this English school. And then everybody else was kissing me, and I was like, why are people kissing me? Like, because that's for me was a shock, is that I didn't know that it was like everybody. At least
Yeah. Our
everybody.
friend Marina did that to me as well. Actually, like
Who?
Marina.
Oh, I remember Marina.
Yeah. The first time I met her, like I went to shake her hand and she just like moved in for a kiss, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So, guys, how do you deal with that if you're not a touchy feely person? Well, this one, I see. I'm more with how you were going last topic, Pete, where you're like, oh, I know this girl that's really organized and timely, and I think that's a bit of an outlier. But I think I've met more Brazilians who are not as much into personal space as you think they are. At least they respect it when you're not, uh, than what I had imagined. Because the more I started to like just extend my hand to shake, people would just take my hand and shake, and like it would just like life would go on. Like I noticed people going in for the kiss, and I would just like throw my hand out, and I
You need
would.
to block it, man. You need to block it.
Yeah, it's a block. It's a block with a handshake, and I see that most people kind of like whatever, okay, and I think even among again, I'm in São Paulo, different places. Like the further north you go, it's
Yeah.
obviously, it's hotter, the climate's hotter, people are outside more, people are more sociable, you're going to get a lot more physical contact. The further south you go, it's colder, people are indoors more, it's going to get a little bit more personal space. So there's that too, that you got to consider. And São Paulo is kind of in the middle, so you're going to get a little bit of both. But I noticed that even with younger generations, maybe because they're all on social media, they're not having so much physical contact, it's not as close as 10 years ago when I started at the school and everybody was hugging and everybody was like big old happy family. So it hasn't become that much of an issue. Like I just extend my hand. Every once in a while I get caught with a kiss and I'm like, okay, whatever, it is what it is, and then life goes on. But it's not something that bothers me anymore, Brazilians do tend to tap you a lot though when they're trying to talk to you, which is kind of
Oh my God, that's the worst. That's the
yeah, I do
worst.
hate that.
You know how I discovered the Wagner Moura movie? What is it called? Bopi, the True Elite, True
Yeah.
Elite. Yeah, I had a student at my school, and she was like, "Oh, you got to check out this movie," and she was like tapping me on the shoulder all the time, and I was like, "Man, this is really inappropriate. Like, you can't just tap me on the shoulder all the time." But that was her way.
Yeah, I tried to take a step back, uh, and just you need to kind of control that a little bit. Like you, the listener, the foreigner, just you manage that space, because if you let the Brazilian manage it, they're gonna get really close to you. So
Yeah.
if they see that you're like taking a step back, they're not gonna like take a step forward. Most of the
Okay.
time,
Okay.
you
That's a
know.
good. It's good advice. Yeah.
Yeah, like you really control the space. And it's tough because they're so like it's like they can't help themselves, and sometimes I do
Yeah,
see
they can't.
that
They're
it's like
like
they want to touch me so bad.
disrespecting people.
No, Pete, I can sense it. Like they want to touch me, they want to touch me. I'm like, I'm standing an arm lengths away, and I'm like, they're like, oh no, but he took a step back. So, and another thing that's kind of gotten big here, which I kind of appreciate, is like a lot of autism awareness. You see a lot of it out there. So I think people are kind of gotten, at least, again, I'm talking Sao Paulo. I don't know if it's like that in the rest of Brazil. But it seems like people kind of get this idea of neurodivergency and like like not everybody wants to be touched. I don't know if COVID had something to do with it, that people just kind of got used to like not being close. But it's very, very manageable today for me, like this idea of personal space. But you kind of got to control it.
Yeah.
You like to be close or far? Você gosta de ficar mais próximo ou mais longe? De pessoas em geral. I'm asking my boyfriend here what his thing is. Now, see, that's why we get along. He likes to be as far away from motherfuckers as possible. So there you go. There you go. But guys, that's just a thing. It's Brazil. It's a Latino culture. So I mean, if you've been, even if you're in the U.S., if you've just been near Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, you know how it is. It's definitely a warmer culture. Another thing that we do and I kind of do this a little bit at the beginning of the podcast. Small talk before getting into business is just, oh man, that one's hard for me to get away from. Uh, in a high context link, relationships building is essential because shared context makes communication smoother. So they want to know where you're from, what food you like, what's your favorite team. It's like a whole barrage of other shit before you get to the shit. Whereas low context, it's people see small talk as wasting time. Efficiency matters more. But in Brazil, if you jump straight into business, you might be skipping the part where trust is built. So it is essential, and that goes down to the minutia, like Pete was saying at the beginning. Like if you don't say good morning, uh, even if it's a conversation that, like maybe you said something like yesterday to the person at 10 p.m. Yeah, see you tomorrow. I'll send you that link, and then you send the link first thing in the morning. That's what you said you would do. And then the person returns, doesn't say thank you, doesn't say, they're like, bon dia. And it's a shameful bon dia. It's to let you know that you should have said good morning first and then said, here's the link that I said I was going to
Yeah,
send.
I swear to God, Phil, to this day, I never send a message to anyone without saying bom dia first. That's the most important thing.
You have been trained well, my young Padawan.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Because if you miss the bon dia, you are toast. And it's funny because I got a student now. He's from Bahia, but he lives in Boca Raton, Florida. And even he said that. He's like, man, I've been scolded so many times for not saying bom dia. And so it's even amongst Brazilians. And if you're
Yeah,
lucky,
I mean, I have this student. And she's really pissed off with her neighbor because her neighbor doesn't say good morning when they cross paths. Like, really? Like that's a big deal for you? It's like, no, that's rude. So that's just how Brazilians see each other.
look at these, Pete. I'm going to show you. This is some memes that my friend Tracy and I sent to each other. We're just screwing around. Because if you get in some of these Brazilian WhatsApp groups, or if
Yeah.
you meet some Brazilians, they'll send you like these, Deus te abençoe, God bless you, wherever you are. Good morning, friends. I have a group where this actually happens. So we're just like kind of having fun with this. We're sending each other, welcome to October, where hope, and, and like, and you get these, look, it's Friday. Happiness is in the air. Good morning. We're just fucking around. And then look at this. This is next level. This is for the evening. Good evening. I wish you peace, calmness, tranquility. Until tomorrow, God, if God wills it.
Yeah, yeah. If God wills it, yeah. Maybe He won't.
God willing, I guess you'd say in English. Until tomorrow, God willing. That's one thing that we don't notice with the language. How Brazilians will say "se Deus quiser" after the end of everything. So everything is God willing. Like nothing here is like we'll meet on
Yeah,
Friday.
yeah. You're taking your chances.
Imagine every time I see Pete, I'm like, Pete, I'll see you on Saturday. God willing.
Yeah, exactly.
He's on his last leg. So I don't know. God willing, we'll be on next Monday. But it
Yeah.
is true because we don't know, man. Like the power can just go out, like, and then, or somebody gets run over by, in front of your house here. And then you're like, the cops are there. You're like, the signal's bad. Everything can happen here. So, yes, it is a definite God willing. But, guys, how do you circumvent this? My trick has been, one is just learn how to say bon dia. But the thing is this, because the communication is kind of funky. Like the person will send you bon dia, they'll wait for you to say it back, but you can't get it. But then only after that are they going to get into the topic. So that could take a while, because they'll just say bon dia, and that will be there till like 2 p.m. until you see the message. And you're like, oh, good afternoon. They won't say what the hell they want. So one, I just realized, okay, it must not be that important. Like because I've gotten messages that were like, bon dia, look, this is what's going to happen.
Oh, dude, I get messages that are bum dia, and like I respond back to them like, "Okay, what do you want?" And they have no idea.
See, God willing, Pete's dying over here. We're all dying, guys. We're all sick. The São Paulo's
No, no,
slowly.
I mean, really,
puffing up a lung over here.
They send a message saying "bum dia." Okay. Yes. So I respond back like, okay, bum dia to you. And is there any response? Nope.
I've got those before. People like that just forget they exist, dude. That's the thing. To keep your sanity, you just have to do like the first one that we did about, the lateness and all that. Just accept it. If the person really needs the money, they're going to send you the pics. Otherwise, okay, right. They're not okay. Right. So with this, I kind of do the same thing. If someone just sends me a bon dia, one, I'll probably see it in the afternoon, So that's one thing. If they send me bon dia, that's on them. If they've been talking to me enough to know that, hey, I'm not up that early answering bon dias. Two, it does exist where people do bon dia and like attached to it, they'll say what they want or what's happening. So then
it doesn't happen that often, though.
It's not often, but dude, wait, let me get to the end here. But that's what I'm saying. It's not often. So any other time, I just don't care. It's not that important because it does exist that when it really, like my bosses, for example, trust me, those bon dias come with like a little text message. Look.
Yeah, well, yeah. I have a boss who does that, but she's also like she's American Brazilian, right? So like I get a bum deal from her, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna respond to that because she's
but that's what you're doing. What I said, it's like you're kind of figuring out which people are just like, oh man, they're probably gonna say nothing of importance or whatever. I'll see it when I see it. And then when it's something that's really urgent, either they're gonna tell you, or as soon as you say bon dia back, they're gonna tell you. So I'm like, I've stopped stressing out about the bon dias, other than just yes, please say it.
Right.
And I kind of do the same thing back. If I need something done, I'm gonna be bon dia, and then right after I'm gonna say, look, I need to know if on Friday, obrigado. Boom. I get my response back after a bon dia, but I get it back. So that's how I kind of get around that. It's not that big of an issue anymore. And I think that's the main lesson. I mean, if we're going down the thread here, we're talking about how to manage the cultural differences. We're talking about some of them, but, how to manage them. Like the small talk before business, physical warmth, time and punctuality is kind of stand your ground in a way and be like, okay, if it's like we said, if it's not that important, or if it's really important, it'll get to you. If it's really important, it'll get to you. And then if you need something that's really important and you see that the person's not reliable, but it's something that you absolutely need, right? Then okay, maybe that person is not the right person for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wait up. I need one. I'll be right back. I need one. But the next topic here. Guys, sorry, Pete, to cut you off a little bit. Let me just say hi to Travelmatic here. People are tuning in now. It's 10:20. We got in a little bit early today, guys, because we're all sick, or at least I was really sick. I got a bit of a strong cold. I don't think it was a flu, but a really strong cold this weekend. But we're talking about how to manage the cultural differences, Brazil versus, the rest of the world, but mainly from the viewpoint of high context versus low context cultures. Low context cultures being the ones that prefer direct communication, straight to the point, whereas high context culture, everything's very contextualized. and like the meaning is sort of like quote unquote understood. In Brazil, it kind of falls in the middle. I've seen Brazil in a couple of these charts. It's
I
not that
think
high
Brazil is
context.
on the latter side of the equation.
Yeah, it's actually not that far from the U.S. Like as far as the U.S. is low context, but it's not like all the way out there. It's like just a couple rungs up. In Brazil's maybe a
Are
few
you
more
kidding
rungs
me,
up.
man? Are you kidding me? I think the U.S. is really direct
No, not compared to some coaches. If you look at, let me see if I can get a chart here on the
compared
screen.
to China.
Yeah, wait up. We can get a few charts here. Oh, look at this, guys. So understanding some of this, guys, will help you communicate beyond the language. Because it's one thing knowing the language. I'm pretty fluent in Portuguese, and I still would seem like I'm not getting my points across here. There's a few images, but let's see this one here. you know, there's more high context up here. And I say, look, Brazil's like kind of almost smack in the middle, and US is further down here as far as low context. But it switches up, depending on the picture. You get this one here. Brazil's a little bit closer to the middle than the US in this one. So, it is a science, but not an exact science.
I
And there's always
I don't know
outliers.
if I agree with that. Because I mean, like, if if I want to like disagree with an American on something, like we can disagree or agree, like right there, on the money. There's no arguing point. Um, so I think in the history of arguing these types of points, no.
I kind of disagree, Pete. Because I don't know, just from being in Germany and like how those motherfuckers talk, man, that's very direct. And I think even British folks are a little bit more, depending on the topic. Yeah, here it's got UK a little bit closer to the middle than the US, which kind of makes sense because you ever see that chart that says what British people say versus what British people mean, you know? And
Mm.
so there's a little bit of subtext to a lot of stuff that they say. So I don't know. It's not an exact science, but if you know what's going on, it helps you kind of be able to dance around it, And in Brazil, you got to have that flexibility. Otherwise, you're not going to get too far here. Um, being very strict and stuff like that doesn't really work too well down here. Indirect communication. So here in
Mm.
high context culture, messages are nuanced. People expect you to read the air. Tone, pauses, and hints carry the weight. Whereas in low context cultures, the same indirectness might be seen as confusing or evasive. So in Brazil, maybe might actually mean no, but it's a polite no meant to protect harmony. This is
Yeah,
what already knows this.
this is a tough part too because it seems like if you're not a member of the culture, it seems intimate. And like what do you respond to that as?
Mm-hmm.
Like this girl that I've never met is all of a sudden like groping me and like friendly, and should I be friendly back? And it's a weird feeling, and my advice would be just to like take it as it's their culture, they're touchy feely.
Exactly, but here we're talking about like the indirectness, and what you're saying kind of connects to that because here you might not know that you're dating somebody until like a
Yeah,
month into it,
yeah,
or
it's like you're my girlfriend. Holy shit, I didn't know.
Yeah. Or the opposite happens. So there's a whole lot here that is really confusing. We've had whole episodes about dating and stuff like that where we talk about this, and how difficult it is for a lot of people to have like relationships here, because reading the signs is really tough. So this one, you know, one, in that sense of like, maybe means no, and or like
Yeah.
Brazilians like to keep the peace. They're not going to give you a no. So it's, again, it's not because they're assholes, or they just like to keep the peace. So you just kind of roll with it. Like, again, it goes back to that first point. If it's really important, you're gonna know. You know, it's just, you gotta
Mm.
be always prepared, because it might be something that you forgot about that was like from 2 weeks ago. So you gotta be prepared for anything. But if it's really important, you're gonna know like immediately, or very close to immediately. So when it comes to this indirect stuff like planning dates, figuring out when we're gonna start shit, getting with the program with stuff, it's like either it's gonna happen or it's not, and you're gonna know it because the person's gonna say, "Let's do it Friday." And if they actually say that, if those words come out of their mouth, there's like an 80% chance it's gonna happen, and then you're only gonna really know on Friday. And then after that, then it's your choice of like, do I want to deal with that, or do I not want to deal with that? And it really depends on the person. Some people in my life that are a bit like that, I deal with, because I like what they bring to the table. I like how they are in general, and they're just Brazilians. So sometimes they say, yeah, Friday, and then Friday comes and they're like, man, something came up, I can't. And I'm like, okay, let's just do it next Friday. And I'm like, cool with it. Other times I'm like, no. So you just kind of realize that's what it is. So like if somebody says, let's do something on Friday, have a plan B, because
Yeah.
you might
Yeah.
just deal with it. So again, that hasn't become like a big issue for me. At the beginning, it was. When I first got here, I used to get very angry at people. Um, and that whole thing about reading the air, and like, I just couldn't figure it out. But now I'm just like, whatever. It is what it is. Um, and I think Brazilians also, they really get into American culture, specifically.
They
So
do.
I
They
think they
do.
kind
They
of,
love American culture
yeah,
like
they
more
kind of
than
get used
any
to it
other
now.
culture.
Yeah, I think they're just used to it. Like if you're just the guy at the table that's just kind of sitting there, not talking as much, but they know you're like a gringo, they're like, yeah. And then later they'll be like, man, we got this gringo friend. He's so funny. Like we're all
Yeah, but
laughing.
they don't necessarily like Americans. Like most people take me for an American, even though I'm totally not. And
Yeah,
yeah, they don't go for the culture as much as they think they would.
it's weird. But guys, it is confusing. Don't get, don't take it personally. That's another thing that's really important. We had
Yeah,
a
of
really good
course.
friend on. By the way, can I just give a shout out to somebody who is in São Paulo, is going to be here till Saturday, so maybe I'll get to see her, which is Regine. She's on the train. So she'll be in São Paulo until Saturday. Maybe she's been on the show, so maybe I got a chance to see her. I don't
Word.
know. Oh, okay. I sent her the link here. Maybe she'll chime in with a hello. Guys, we're gonna go off soon because, as you can see, I'm losing my voice slowly here. Drinking a lot of hot tea.
Yeah,
Um,
gonna finish
Another
that.
thing.
Well,
Let's get down Spanish first. Then I will focus on Portuguese. Yes, but let me tell you, traumatic. This is beyond just the language, understanding of the language. It is just understanding the context of the communication style, which, if you've been
yeah,
to
it
Spanish
depends
speaking,
on how personal it is because
yeah,
I mean, problematic or I believe his name is Anthony, right?
Man, you got me. Because I was just thinking that right now, and he told us last time. I like the name Kevin
Yeah,
Durant. It's
I think his name is Anthony. The idea is in Portuguese culture or in Brazilian culture, it's like approaching you as like you're you're giving up your personal rights almost, right? Like
uh-huh.
they come up to you and they're like your best friends immediately.
Yes,
And for people like us, like that's not normal. Um, so
yeah,
it's hard to get over.
exactly. And but then once you kind of just realize that what they're doing is they're building this wider community, and you just
Yeah,
happen to be like,
but okay, Phil. The thing is, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off,
oh,
but
go
the
ahead.
thing is, um, we they don't actually follow through on that, right? It's like they kind of make their decision, you know. They approach you as your best friend, and maybe they will be, maybe they won't be. And
But oh, go ahead.
no, that's it.
I'm just saying, I get exactly where you're coming from, but you're looking at it just like I did at the beginning from my lens. And then I had to flip it and look at it from a Brazilian's lens. In a Brazilian's lens, their intention is not to be your best friend. That's just their status quo state. They're just gonna be these
Right.
friendly people that are gonna want to drink with you. They're gonna want to show you the city. They're gonna give you their number. And they're like this because you need to be welcoming. Like that's part of the code. You gotta be welcoming. And then it's like it doesn't mean for them that this is my new best friend, but it's somebody that I know in Sao Paulo that happens to be Canadian, and maybe one day when I'm out on Paulista and I'm doing nothing, I'll call him up because he was kind of cool. Like that's where you are on in their
Yeah.
file, you
Yeah.
know.
No,
And
no, I've actually reached a point where I understand that because like I've had so many Brazilian best friends that I thought were my best friends and
yeah,
they weren't. They weren't.
mm-hmm.
Um, but like I could still call them up and go to a concert or whatever. And I think the lesson I learned from this is that like you you shouldn't expect people who don't know you and have never met you before
Yeah,
and take you in as a guest to be your best friends. Like
yeah.
you shouldn't. They just like they're nice enough to do this for you, but this doesn't mean you should expect them to be your best friends.
Exactly, and I think that's great advice, and that's a great perspective because it takes a while to build relationships in Brazil, and that's the thing. When you're able to build those relationships, they're like real family, dude. It's like me and Jose and all this stuff. Like those people are like my family. That was a relationship that was built over a lot of time, over a lot of trust, and it's not something that is easy to do, and they're gonna look at you kind of sideways and like, oh, what's going on? But when they see, oh, okay, you're coming from this place, it is honest, it is cool, it is, they will become like the best friends you ever had. Like you want a Brazilian friend, man, because they're gonna be there like regardless. But it takes a long time to build that, and you just don't think that I'm gonna come in and just because they take you in because Brazilians are naturally welcoming, and they will invite you to the churrasco, and they will. It doesn't mean that you're part of the inner circle, and I think
Hmm.
that's what got it fucked up down here, and then they get all sad because friends will just disappear. And it's like, yeah, but you're not part of the inner circle. We're here for you, but to a limit. And then finally, last topic is respect for hierarchy. In a high context culture, social roles and respect cues are understood implicitly. A lot is communicated non-verbally in how you address or defer to someone senior, whereas in low context, um, formality is less important than direct collaboration, which is very, very true and gets me in trouble. So in Brazil, you read the room before speaking. Who's the decision maker? Who do you defer to? It's all part of the unspoken context.
Yeah,
And
man. I would say in Brazil, like the first rule is to not speak. Like
yeah,
let somebody else speak first.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. And you're going to see quickly who the top boss is. What's annoying about this is like Brazilians interrupt each other a lot when they're talking because it seems like they're all fighting to be like uh, the top dog in a conversation and be like, who's the
Yeah,
she said.
this is why you don't speak. This is why you don't speak.
That's what I've learned to do, man. When I'm out, I just don't talk that much because I'm like, I don't have the energy to keep up with Brazilians when they're talking. And look, I do a podcast. I know how to gab, but I just
Yeah,
shut up. I
yeah,
do
there
not
are
talk.
times to shut up, man.
Yeah, and then just enjoy it because the conversations are funny and they're all just like messing with. If your Portuguese, gets a little better, you see that most conversations in Portuguese are not serious. They're just screwing around. Even at work meetings, it's like so informal here, and everybody's just messing around. We do have an agenda we kind of get to, but maybe not. And I guess we all understood. It's like that lady said in that video after work meetings sometimes. I have to message everybody that was at the meeting,
Yeah,
be like, "Wait, did she say this? Are we supposed to?" And again, if my boss is listening, this is nothing against you. It's because we're all just kind of like laughing and having fun, and we take her. She's actually the one that's all organized, and we kind of take her into a different path, and you kind of get used to it. And I'd rather have those type of meetings than just those pop 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 pop. Unless I'm really tired, I prefer just a bullet point meeting. We're done in 20 minutes.
yeah,
But if we got to take up an hour because that's what's written down in the schedule and that's what the school expects an hour meeting, at least it's fun and we we get
yeah,
it done at the end. It all kind of comes together at the end, and it's like the meeting just kind of extends through the week as we're all trying to figure out exactly what it is that everybody meant to say. And then by the time we need to do what we got to do, everybody's on the same page. That's very different, very very different than when I'm in a meeting with like an American company where it's like by the end of the meeting exactly what time John is gonna walk through the door and Mary's gonna hand him a glass of something. It's very very different. Uh, just remember Rocky the movie. Adrian. Oh, Adrian. Yeah, not Anthony. I knew it was something with an A. Now I'm never gonna forget because I'm a huge Rocky fan, and you're big too, so you look like a big.
Adrian.
Yeah, so we will not forget. But I just love Travelmatic so much. I forget, guys. I'm terrible with names. But this whole respect of hierarchy, we've talked about this on the show before when we talk a little bit more about race issues, is that, the country is kind of separated, social class and racial class. And you see that, like, people that are from low social classes, they get kind of nervous when they're going to talk to somebody that is of an upper echelon. Even that shopping mall I went to, that Morumbi shopping mall,
Hmm.
you're not going to see, you're going to notice who's lower class and who's not lower
Yeah,
class, even if they're
yeah,
trying to
yeah,
dress
yeah.
a certain way.
The bigger problem for me actually is getting students because they feel like they're not good enough for me.
Yeah.
That's the weirdest aspect of this that I've had. Like, no, like you're like a white Canadian, I can't possibly be good enough to work in your league, and
Oh,
yeah.
it's so funny. They have a name for this, guys, in Portuguese. It's called the Vira Lata syndrome. And Brazilians will talk about this a lot. Vira Lata syndrome. and vira lata is a mutt. And basically it's trying to say like the whole concept between this. It was by this writer, Brazilian writer, I forgot his name now, came up with this term, is where Brazilians don't have a lot of they have self-worth issues. They don't value themselves
Yes,
very much.
yes.
Yeah, and they'll look at other things. So they feel like they're the mutt, like America is the pure breed, England is the pure breed, France is the pure breed, and we're the mutt, which we're cute. Everybody loves the mutt, he's more fun, but we're still not the pure breed. So um, that's really part of the culture. And ways to deal with this, I think of all the topics, I think this is the can be the toughest one, especially if you're like me and Pete, where we can kind of just hang out with everybody, but that includes people from the higher echelon to the lower echelon, and sometimes we want to go to like a fancy place, and we have friends that are not from fancy areas, and then it's tough to get those friends to go there with you, or they'll feel uncomfortable.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I've lost friendships because of that, and even some people I was dating. I had this guy that I was dating that literally he sent me a message, Pete, that was like, and you are always trying to embarrass me in front of your American friends. And I'm
Oh
like,
man.
what are you talking about? And the worst is like we're trying to speak Portuguese around the motherfucker. They like kind of make them feel, included. But a friend of ours, I'm not gonna say who it is, but she was dating a girl that said exactly the same thing to her, which was she said almost verbatim the same thing as that. When she wouldn't mind if this girl went to her neighborhood, and that's fine if you go down to favela or whatever. But to bring that to like, let's go to like a fancier area, they feel like, oh, you're trying to embarrass me. So the Vira Lata syndrome can really affect your ability to make friendships in Brazil. How I get around this is I just accept it. Like I try to invite my cousins, my sisters, or whatever to go meet me halfway because they live far, man. They live in a Capão Redondo, in the favela there. It's
Yeah.
like a hour and a half journey, if you know. So I'm like, let's meet halfway. We'll go to like a neighborhood that's not super fancy, but also not, like Pinheiros is kind of like midterm. Even that for them, they get all kind of like, oh no. But I'm like,
Yeah, Pinheiros is pretty high fancy, man.
yeah, but if you go closer to the river, you get those little barzinhos too. So it's like kind of
Yeah.
for me, it's like a mid range. It kind of
Yeah.
mixes a little
Yeah,
bit
I
of
mean,
the suburbs.
I feel you. I feel you. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So I'm
I
like, okay. So if I'm only saying that because if I know I'm gonna hang out with somebody that's from the suburbs, they feel uncomfortable if I say let's go to like Paulista, for example, or
that's
Jardins,
weird. That's so
or
weird.
Vila Madalena, although I don't like Vila Madalena, but whereas if so I'd say, okay, Pinheiros is kind of almost there, or Santa Amaro, maybe, but they still feel kind of weird, and it's like,
Ghetto Moro is actually really cool.
yeah, I
I
like Santa Amaro, but it's kind of ghetto there, depending where you are.
well,
Uh,
that's the point. That's the
but
point.
it's
They want to be comfortable. Like, okay,
yes, go to Santa Amaro. But long story short, I've overcome this by just accepting it. And I'm like, okay, if I want to see some friends, I'm just going to have to go to the favela. And that's just, it is what it is.
yeah,
And I'll go.
yeah,
And if I appreciate them enough, I just understand that's what it is. And I don't get all worked up about it anymore, you know?
yeah,
Uh, but anyway, guys, I think we pretty much wrapped it up. Again, if you're from a low context culture, and you're down here in Brazil, it's all about the vibe. You got to listen with your whole body. It's not. Don't pay attention to the words coming out of people's mouth. Look at how they're moving. Look at the eye contact. Eye contact is super
and look
important.
at the touch. Look at the touch too.
Look at
Don't
the
read
touch.
too much into it. Don't read too
Yes,
much into it. Just like take it for what it is.
exactly. And for me, I think eye contact is something that I don't know if you had this experience, Pete, but I noticed like Brazilians don't give you a lot of eye contact, and I think maybe this comes from this hierarchy thing. I don't know, but even when they're like giving you like prices of things, like how much stuff is, like they look down, especially at the clerks and everything. So it's like you just realize, look at the body language. If somebody's really interested, if somebody's a little bit more serious, they're going to give you better eye contact. They're going to have a different posture. They're going to maybe be a little bit more forward, but you're only going to really know if something's going to happen in Brazil when it happens. That's the
Yeah, and
important
you also have to understand that a lot of times, like Brazilian behavior is a reaction against Brazilian behavior. So
That's true
you,
too.
there are these occasions where you're going to come across Brazilians who react against exactly everything we've been talking about tonight.
Yeah, I agree. And I think this is something that is changing just due to globalism, and Brazilians have gotten exposure to other cultures. Even Korean, because K-pop is huge here. So, and
Yeah,
there's a lot of Asian immigrants here, from either Japan and Korea. So there, and again, we're in São Paulo, so here you get a little bit of everything. I think it's easier to manage these things that we talked about when you're in São Paulo. You go to like Rio, Bahia, other places that expats end up in a lot, and it may be a little bit tougher, because even for Brazilians, sometimes it's tough to deal with. People from São Paulo, it's tough to deal with those Brazilianisms when they leave the state. But I think it's important to note that it's not like they do it to spite you. It's just like
yeah,
they're just looking at it differently. I'll give you a quick story here. I was teaching this girl, and she's from São Paulo, and she works a lot in Rio, and she loves Rio. But it took her a while to get into Rio, and she's like, one thing that I didn't get was how I went to a meeting, and everybody was like, yeah, we're gonna eat at such and such place, and then 12 o'clock came, and everybody just left. And she was like, wait, fuck, that was rude, right? And then she realized later, she talked to somebody like, no, like here in Rio, it's like if we said the place, like you're invited. Like everybody just left because we understood that you were in on it and you're just supposed to go. Like you don't need a formal invitation. It's like it was said out loud. Yeah, I'm thinking about going to Joe's for lunch. Yeah, Joe sounds. Yeah, no, I love Joe's. Nah, Joe's a good. All right, yeah, Joe sounds pretty good. And then everybody's at Joe's at 1 o'clock. Nobody said, "Hey, Pete, you ever have a Joe's cheeseburger? You might like it. You want to have lunch?" That conversation is not going to happen. So once you kind of figure little things like that out and realize that it's like just this big net, this big community net here. And you might be at the far end of that net. You're not going to be in the center of it. Family is usually at the center of it. Maybe people that you grew up with is in that next ring. And then it's people that you work with. And then it's like everybody else. It's just kind of, that's kind of like where Brazilians are as far as how they think about these connections that they have. Where I think
yeah,
me and you, Pete, we're thinking way more kind of in a linear way. It's like this is my relationship with Pete. This is my relationship with Beverly. This is my and I honor those relationships in their very different ways. But I'm not thinking of it as a net. It's a bit different.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I basically have three relationships with Brazilians here, and one is with Gianni, who is a mess. She's impossible to track. The other is with, I mean, the others are unimportant. Roger is actually a really good guy. He's basically my best friend. Um, but the important thing is that you know, you have to manage them as individual human beings. You can't manage them as Brazilians, you know.
Yeah.
You need to manage them as human beings and just who they are as people, and that's it.
I agree with that. I agree with that. And don't be afraid to judge. Because sometimes some things are just like, that's not
Yeah,
for me. Like, I
yeah,
can't
because
deal with
Gianni
people.
drives me fucking nuts, man. She
Yeah.
drives me fucking nuts. But I swear to God, like I still love her, and I just like when she's pushing my buttons, I just like okay, like Gianni, I'm talking to you as a person now. I need to hear from you now.
Yes. Yeah, that's funny. But I'm thinking more like this, Pete. I'm like, don't be afraid to judge unless it's something you can't get out of. Like, okay, I have a relationship with my landlord. I can't get out of that. So I just kind of like, whatever. The shit will happen when it happens.
Right.
Uh, but if it's not like a relationship that you need, like I'm not friends with people that are 30 minutes late or cancel all the time. I'm just not. It is what it is.
Yeah, I can't
But
help it. I can't help
uh,
it.
but I end up having friends that are not like that. I have friends
Yeah.
that are like, and again, I have different expectations. I understand that if I set something up for a Friday, sometimes it might not happen, but I get it.
Yeah, no,
So there's a
this
limit.
girl, man, this girl, I make meetings with her on a Monday that
Mm,
don't happen until a Sunday.
yeah. But if you're cool, like if every you got to put everything in balance. If like that
Yeah,
one thing is not that much to like destroy everything else, and you're just like, okay, yeah, she's gonna be a little flaky with time. It is what it is. You know, so I kind of put people in categories like that. That's how I've managed not going crazy. And then I realized what's important for me. Well, for me, time and money. I don't F with people's time or money. So yeah, I'm a little stricter with Brazilians when it comes to time. If I see somebody that's always late, I'd rather have somebody cancel than be late and keep me waiting. So I'm
yes.
not
Yeah.
friends with that many people that are constantly late. But that said, I'm in Brazil, so I'm not going to expect super punctuality. Maybe I'll extend it to 15 minutes.
Yeah,
Whereas,
and this goes back to what I was
balance.
saying at the beginning of the podcast, which is that like I know so many Brazilians who are so punctual,
Yes.
like more than me.
Yes.
I would show up for dates with this girl, believing that she would be later than me, and she wasn't. She's like, "What took you so long?" I'm like, what?
Well, you
What was
lucked
that?
out.
5 minutes late? You know?
Yes.
Um, yeah, and yeah, there is that aspect. Like there are punctual Brazilians.
There are. You will find them. So if you have something that is like, okay, this is the line that I will not cross, then okay. It's just you can't have that. You can't have that many lines because then you're just really gonna have a hard time in a
Yeah.
culture that's different from yours. But you can't totally disrespect yourself and be like, oh, I'm just gonna let people treat me however they want because I'm in their country. No, you gotta respect yourself too. Just stretch a little bit and you have maybe one or two things that are like, yeah, that's not happening. Like somebody I have a very good friend. We're still friends. He's here at least twice a month, recording. I got this little recording studio set up. Love him to death. Took him to the hospital, this kid, when I was sick. He showed up at my house one time unannounced, knocked on the door. I sent his ass home. And I'm like, man, you've known me for a long time. Like, you don't just show up at my house. I could be having like a gay orgy in here. Call first. And he
Yeah.
understood. So it's like he understood that's a line that I'm not willing to cross, which is a very Brazilian thing, which is just kind of show up unannounced. So uh, I think things like that are important to just have a few things that you're like, yeah, that's not happening. But everything else, just kind of go with it. Have fun. Brazil's a fun
Mhm.
country. And hopefully those tariffs will come down in a little bit. Well, guys, that's it for tonight. Thank you, everybody who uh, came in, said hi. Thank you, Adrian, for showing up. Okay. Go listen to last week's podcast about indigenous culture here. Very enlightening. It was kind of really enlightening because I got information from our guest, but also from Pete, because he's got some indigenous background, but also he's giving us the Canadian perspective, which is totally different from the American history. I didn't know it was that different, which is totally different from the Brazilian history. So it's so cool getting all these different perspectives when it comes to how indigenous folks were treated and are treated in society in the West. So go listen to that. Very enlightening conversation. And that's it, guys. No outro music because StreamYard bugged and all my videos are out of here. So until next week, where the topic might surprise you. Okay? So I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
All right.